So everybody, this is 813 Wish coming at you live, another edition of Walks Paths. So this is going to be kind of a brief episode. I'm here once again at the landing site at some graffiti tag work, some handy craftsmanship done by our master spray painters and artists abroad, or locally rather. And the reason why I'm standing here is to shed more light on an ever increasing debate between marksmanship and craftsmanship. You got these guys who come to the table with their swords and cups, and really no one really seems to talk about, the innocent bystander, or maybe the countless numbers of work that have been tossed to the side, shredded, stepped on, buried, and thrown out, that have really amounted to what we talk about today. So what I'd like to do is kind of bring the camera angle into more of this work here, this art. And I just want to encourage you to think about really the meaning behind the penmanship behind this. It really doesn't really have a lot to do with what the words would amount to at that point. It would really mean more or less who the artist was and what they were trying to personify with the art that they engrave with, which is essentially penmanship. I mean, you learn cursive in elementary school, and then you grow up, and then you realize a tag is a folly, and it's kind of an embarrassment to a lot of people who would consider their tag and their graffiti and their art to be a personification of a language that was not graven, that was actually very specific in its deliverance and its meaning. People come to certain terms with how things are going, and all of a sudden they're cast to the side because they're not personifying themselves clearly enough, only because they dedicated a large amount of their development to penmanship and not words and expression. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how do we get across to those people when we want to go to them and buy an artwork from them or have them tag something? I mean, we're going to just ask them what we want them to do. I mean, communication would be futile at that rate. So what happens is we get games going on between companies. We go to work and we forget about it, and we think about it later, and it builds. And it comes to a boiling point where what you see here is essentially the tip of the iceberg, but it would have been a relay point. It would have been a marker for progression. Through the occupation of artists. And it's really, when you boil it down, art is not, harmful. It's not, intentful. Really, it's more of a careless, free expression. But when you combine it with motivation and motive, and merit, you tend to personify a lot of action and verbose verbs and adjectives and agitation. And what happens is you get competition outside of the game network that has fostered a lot of the gatherings that bring the competition and bring on the game, and we really have to consider, going back to square one, going back to point A, and retreating from point B and saying to ourselves, well, maybe we could do this. Maybe if we don't want them tagging in the cities, maybe we'll, lead by example and write books or have, a scatterplot field, for these artists to go there and tag there. And we could stand to benefit a lot from, doing things like that, because we could then harvest information. We can go there and retrieve, opinion, and solence and entertainment and all kinds of things, and vice versa. I mean, what would happen if the skateboard star, landed a business deal, on a boardroom exec, meeting, and brought his skateboard in his backpack and a bunch of his graffiti? And they put it on all their clothes. Therefore, he closes the deal with what, $1 million, $10,000, whatever, goes home and endorses skateboards. And these guys have their product. He writes more graffiti. It could happen again. It's very useful, but it's also kind of very eye-opening. It's scary in a sense, because what does it mean? There's so much, right? You look at all the words. If you don't know your way around philosophy, how are you gonna know your way around a paintbrush that is essentially words and time, right? I mean, it gets deep, but don't stop asking questions. Don't stop thinking of yourself as an artist. You need to go forth, and art. So, just want to drop that on you today. Quick tidbit of advice for everybody. Fighting the paint battles and then the tag handling. Manhandling of the tags and all kinds of stuff. I mean, don't really give up. But just don't really keep it on someone else's tip. You know what I'm saying? You got to take yourself for a grain of salt and realize that that was probably bigger than you ever imagined. So, the tag, graffiti, keep it up, guys. Good work. And I'll keep the pseudo up on my end. I want everybody to have a good day. Pardon the crude examples of punishment, and the metaphorism. Not exactly, on the scene, but I am around. So you can catch me on the flip. And I'm telling everybody today, peace.